Hello, I'm JW. Today we're going outside to have a look at a site of a former power station, and this one's in Poole in Dorset, and I've got a map here which shows the general area. And the power station is long gone. It was demolished in the early 1990s. I think the chimney was taken down in 93 and the rest of the building was gradually removed over the following years. So it's been gone for sort of 20 to 25 years, and due to various reasons the site itself is pretty much still empty. It's not really been used for anything. And on the side of the site there is actually an electrical installation which still exists and appears to be still powered, at least in part, so we'll have a look at that on this in a moment. But the map here just basically gives us an overview of the site here, and just the road in question is this A350 here, also known as Rigler Road. Here's the satellite image view, and you can see the electrical installation part towards the top centre of the screen there, and that's to the left of the road. And that big piece in the centre, which is basically just wasteland now, is where the power station used to be. You can still see the concrete foundations things in there fairly clearly. And so this is over 20 years it's been in this state, so certainly various problems have occurred there in terms of no one developing it, or couldn't get permission, or didn't want to pay, and so on. Now the electrical facility here, which used to connect to the power station, is pretty much as it was, and you can see here in a bit more detail from overhead. And so it's basically along the edge of the road there, and just as that road sort of curves around to the right. And you notice that the road there has that weird right angle bend in, and it appears that it was originally constructed to go straight ahead, and that was actually kind of an original plan. We'll have a look at that at the end of the video, but for the moment of course the road does just go away to the right. So here's a view from the bottom corner of the site, and so we're also not going to go inside because it is apparently still powered, so obviously it's private property and whatever. And you can see there's a lot of these large frames inside there. There's not actually a huge amount of equipment in there now, of course, because the power station was removed long ago. But there are some buildings away over to the back, you can just about see in the far distance over there. And there are some actual wires still connected to this, which we'll see once we get further along the road. Now here we're about halfway along the site, and you can see there's a lot of empty space in there. Obviously that's where various things that would have been installed at one time. And you can see here on the fence there obviously are warning signs and razor wire and who knows what else, so obviously not be climbing in there. Now here we are a bit further up there, and you can see again it's more of the same, little empty space, but over to the back there you can see there's two large pylons which do have wiring attached going away back into the distance. And though you can't hear it on the video, you can hear the 50 Hz hum here fairly faintly from the back of the site there, so there definitely is stuff still connected in there. But as you can see the whole site is pretty extensive, but really there's very little in there. Obviously various things are no longer connected to the power station, which would have been over to the left side of the road there, just where those cars are driving past. And when the power station was here this road of course didn't exist at all, it's been put in since then. So just another quick view around of that, and again there's those two pylons way over the distance with the wires extending far away across the back there. Now here right at the other end of the site there, so there's a huge empty space there with absolutely nothing in. There's that pylon again with the other one just to the left there. And again you can see just how gigantic this particular area is. And the area we're just seeing there over towards the left of the image there is where the actual power station would have been. Of course it's now just an empty site there. And again you can see the razor wire and all the other spikes and things surrounding the main site there. Now there's that odd sort of stub of road which doesn't go anywhere. If you drove there you'd actually end up in the sea, that rather shonky barrier there. And the road there is actually across to the new bridge, the Twin Sails Bridge, where those cars are currently coming from. And we're sort of right on that right angle bend. And see there's the other vehicles coming up the road from down that way. And again towards the left of the picture there is that empty massive site where the actual power station building used to be. Now on the other side of the road here, just a quick overview of the entirety of the site there with the electrical stuff in there. And then there's that ridiculous right angle corner with that rather temporary looking barrier over there, although of course it's actually permanent because there's no road that goes beyond that point. Here's a view just through the fence, that's the actual power station site, and you can see nothing's happening there and hasn't happened in there for a quarter of a century or so. And all those buildings over the other side are actually on the other side of the water, so this site is literally just completely empty and completely wasted. And then here's a view from the actual main road, and you can see that ridiculous literally 90-degree corner there as that brown UPS truck gets there, literally just wrenches right around the corner. Presumably is why they put those barriers there, because if they weren't, so you would actually just go straight through and then go directly into the sea. Now here's an aerial view of the actual site from a sort of an angle, and you can see the electrical piece there is towards the top of the picture. It looks actually quite small in this, but actually it's quite a large and substantial area. And then in front of that huge square piece there is where the power station building itself used to stand, and you can see that big sort of concrete area on the side there. That's actually the foundations of the building, which again are still pretty much as they were. And towards the left side here, which is highlighted, this was all again buildings to do with the actual power station, and some of that has actually had some houses built on it. You see those sort of ones there with the sort of greyish coloured roofing there. So those have been constructed fairly recently, but in terms of the bulk of the site, it's still pretty much derelict and empty. I'd say has been for 25 odd years. Now the deal with the bridges here is at the bottom of the image here. This is the original old bridge, and it is a lifting bridge so that boats things can get through there. That has been there since forever, and as it was the only one at one point, then obviously a lot of clogs and congestion occurred there, and there were various plans to build a new one, most of which were a complete disaster and worthy of looking into on their own. But the one we've currently got here is the one which just goes across the same bit of water just a bit further round, and that's the one where that stupid right angle road goes to. That is also a lifting bridge, and as you can see the road basically comes around there and it joins up with the exact same road that comes from the old bridge. So in terms of easing congestion or whatever, well, it really didn't do anything at all, because all the jams and clogs of course still occur there. It's just you've got two routes to get to it now instead of one. And the only benefit with this now is that when one bridge is out of service or broken, you can use the other one, whereas in the past, of course, if the bridge was busted, well, the only option was to drive around the actual road route around the edge of the bay, which took considerably longer and was a, say, much longer distance. Now here's a view of a much wider angle from above, and you can see the two bridges there just highlighted at the bottom centre of the image. And the deal with this bridge was that the plan originally was not to have the bridge, so that stupid right angle turn coming back to where the other one goes, but to actually continue straight ahead, which is sort of where that bit of stub of road was going. And the idea was it would go straight across the water there, it says Holes Bay, and it would actually join onto that road over the other side where it says A350. So that would have been a completely almost straight route going all the way across, and that bridge being considerably longer if it had ever been built, it could have also been much higher, and therefore it wouldn't have had to have a lifting section in it. It would have just been a fixed bridge, and therefore the boats and things could have easily just passed underneath without any hassle of it opening and closing. And you can see there's sort of that marina thing just highlighted there in the left side there, which is basically where all of the things come from. So that was the original plan, but for various reasons it did not get built, and now it's stuck with this thing which say is a silly right angle twist, and it basically takes you to exactly the same place where the old bridge would go to. And despite that bridge being pretty much brand new, it's only been there for a few years, it's been riddled with problems pretty much from day one. It's quite often closed for all kinds of maintenance and repairs. And so the benefit now is you've got the two there, and they're rarely both closed at the same time, but it's not really much of an improvement. And the problem started on day one when the thing was supposedly finished, and on its first actual opening, where the thing is sections lifted up, as the section lifted up, a massive chunk of the road surface just fell off and smashed on the floor, and therefore had to be closed for several days to actually put it all back together and repair the thing, and that was literally on the very first time it opened. So pretty poor start, and there's been all kinds of problems there since then. And in terms of the actual power station site, there's been various plans over the years and all kinds of schemes to build houses and who knows what else on there, none of which have actually come to anything, as you can see, because it's still just as empty as it was 25 years ago, apart from that little tiny piece on the bottom edge where a very small number of homes have been built more recently. So that's pretty much it for the power station site there, and we'll just end this video with some dolphins. Poole is supposedly have some kind of symbol of dolphins and whatever else, goodness knows why, because it doesn't seem a particularly indigenous species to the area, but there are some dolphins in Poole, and here they are. They're actually on the top of the cliffs, and they're made of wood. So until next time, thanks for watching.